Hello and welcome to the Federal. The Election Commission of India revoked the national party status of Trinamool, NCP, and CPI on Monday for not meeting the required criteria. The Communist Party of India, the country's second oldest party or second oldest political party that once commanded tens of thousands of dedicated activists all the way from Peshawar to Chittagong, has been reduced to just two seats in the 545 seat Lok Sabha. So, what's the way forward for the party? Samir Purkayastha, senior journalist with the Federal, gives us the lowdown. Samir, thank you for joining me. How big a setback is this for the party?
It is definitely a very sad commentary for the country's oldest communist party that had played such a crucial role in our freedom struggle. It had also been a major political player in the early decades after independence. But the stripping of national party status per se will not cause much of a fresh setback to hit because it is already in shambles. Technically, it had lost its national status following its poor performance in the 2014 Lok Sabha elections. But it only got some respite because in 2016 the election commission had decided to review the this national party status after every 10 years instead of 5 years. So it had got some this thing some space till 2016 2026. So so it is not it is not something that came suddenly and a fresh setback for the CPI, because the CPI actually could never recover from the split it had suffered in 1964. So most of the party stalwart had then left the undivided CPI to form the CPIM, and the divide had reduced the CPIM into a marginal player, while the CPIM emerged as the main communist party. That was the beginning of the downfall, and what we saw now is it's the result of that.
So you just told about the beginning of the downfall, but what are the other factors responsible for the party's downfall apart from the split?
There are many factors. See, as I said, that the CPIM had emerged as the main party after the split, and in subsequent years, those CPI and the CPIM had formed Greater Left Front Alliance. But in those alliance, the CPI actually played the second fiddle to the CPI, and that had affected its grassroots organization. For instance, in the 2021 assembly election, the CPI contested only 10 seats out of the 294 assembly seats in West Bengal, as against 138 by the CPI. So, and similarly, in the just concluded assembly elections in Tripura early this year, the CPI got to contest just one seat out of the 60 assembly seats, as against 43 by the CPI. So this is one of the factors, because to keep your party machineries active, you need to participate in this kind in the elections. And the CPI, since it has been reduced to as a smaller party, in seat sharing, it's getting only few seats. So that has also had affected its party base. That is one factor. Then secondly, the party also didn't couldn't induce fresh blood. Though in 2022 some decisions were taken, that they had introduced some age bar, that to encourage more young people to join the party, but due to objections and resistance from senior leaders, that couldn't be properly implemented. That policy couldn't be properly implemented. So these are some of the broader factors that has affected the party organization.
Samir, CPI for that matter, even other left parties are often seen at the forefront of mass movements, be it for farmers or workers' rights. But why then is their presence on the ground not actually translated to votes?
Well, that is see, that is one of the reasons for that is the communist movement. Be it this workers' movement or farmers' movement, it is limited to organized sectors. They have not actually taken it to the unorganized sectors. So that is one of the reasons. And another thing is that CPI, this in their class struggle, the CPI, the communist parties didn't factor in the caste factors. They completely ignored the caste operation, which is very vital in Indian politics. And caste and class operation is almost synonymous in India. So they have ignored it, and as a result, when caste-based political parties emerged in Hindi heartlands and other areas, the communist parties, they gradually started losing ground there. So that
Okay.
is one of the factors why they lost out to the caste-based socialist parties like RJD, Samajwadi Party in UP, RJD in Bihar. At one point of time, the communists had a very strong presence in Bihar, Jharkhand, those areas, but they lost out because they never factored in. Then in tribal areas, they never factored in these tribal factors. So they failed to do the social engineering.
Samir, my last question to you is: are you expecting the party to do a turnaround following this current, sudden jolt?
Well, see, it's very hypothetical, but see, I immediately after the election commission decision, the national secretariat of the CPIM, as the CPI had met today in New Delhi, and many had thought that there would be, some threadbare discussions, introspection about their failures, but instead, those who attended the meeting of the record say that the leadership tried to blame on technicalities and why EC had not given waited till 2026 to review its decision, all those factors, instead of introspecting into the leadership failure, then how to rejuvenate the party, those things were not discussed. And so I don't think unless and until they actually, instead of blame game, they, read the writings on the wall, it is very difficult to revive from here. And the in fact, after the first the first India general election in India, the CPI had in its review meeting had felt the need for all the known all the communist and democratic forces to come together to fight the Congress and the Hindu rights. At that time, it was represented by Hindu Mahasabha. So similarly, I think similar now also, I think the same, they should do the same thing. They should try to bring all the communist party together. That is perhaps one way to move forward from here. There has to be larger communist unity instead of CPI contesting differently, separately, CPIML separately. All the left parties, even the forward blocks, RSP, they should all come together, and for the greater communist cause, movement or cause, whatever term it, they should come together.
Thank you for your input, Samir. Viewers, for more such interviews, visit the Federal's YouTube page. Also, follow us on our social media platforms. Thank you.
Subscribe to the Federal's YouTube page for more interesting updates.